I was just thinking and I was remembering and I wrote down, the whole phrase about, like, people talking about, it's better in the old days are better. I was like, that depends, like, how far back are we talking, and, yeah. And then I was like, even if it depends, you're like, oh, like, I was like, you're right if you're talking about gas prices. You know, when it was real cheap back in the day, you know, when it was only a couple cents. Even back in the 60s and 70s and the 80s. What was it? 60s? I think my parents were born in the 60s. Some in the late 60s, early 60s. They're 16 parts apart. So maybe almost 50s. Maybe late 50s and 60s. Yeah, I was like, one of them was born in 1964. So. And I was like, I think that's just my mom, because I think I did the calculation one time, and I was like, I think that's my mom, I don't think that's my dad. But yeah, so I was like, if you're talking about gas prices, and like, when food was super cheap, and I was like, then yes, that is accurate, and that is better. But if you're talking about medical advancements and all that crap, you're like, not really, no, we weren't there yet. Yeah, that's not it. And you were like, social change, and most people are talking about social crap. They're all like, well, back in the day, we didn't have all these trans people, we didn't have all these gay people and everything. I was like, no, we existed, you just didn't see us. We were all in hiding. Or we were boycotting, or protesting, or hiding behind other labels, and or you're just ignoring us, pretending we didn't exist. You weren't in our neighborhood. They just didn't come out to you. You just didn't see them online or in the media, and the media didn't care about you, and they didn't talk about you. That's what it was. It was all black and white. You were either female or male, and there was no transitioning. There was none of this. You were like, there just weren't as many options, and you didn't learn about it, people, and people weren't coming out, and people didn't know it was an option, and they told you this or that. Are you this or that? You had to pick one. There weren't any options, and you also didn't know that you could pick one. You were just told that you are one, no matter what, and nothing can change it. You couldn't learn anything else. Okay. There's gender, sexuality in both cases. That's how it was. They were there. And you were never given an option or a choice in anything. You were said, okay, are you born male? And then for people who are like intersex and all of that crap, the doctors or your parents decided. And in rare cases, your parents decided, or you get to decide. But for the most part, it was just the doctors. They said, you have a little bit more of this genitalia or this genitalia, or we're just going to pick one. And that's how it works. We're going to pick one, and we're going to cut off the other part. Or it looks like this, so we're going to put this on your birth certificate. So we're going to pick if you're male or female. We're going to put it on there. And that's just on the genetics part. And you're like, oh, if you're born this, then you're female or you're male. That's how it's always been established. And then, so that's just your sex. And not what you're attracted to, and not your sexuality. I don't know why we're just obsessed with sex, because we use that for everything. We're like, that means what organs you have, and that means you have intercourse, and that means what you like. Because they all have the word sex in it. 2 of them just have that one word, sex. And the other one has sexuality. They add a little fancy ending at the end, and it means something different. It's all ridiculous. I don't know why we call it all the same thing. But yeah. That's why it's always so confusing, because you're like, what? It's not the same thing? What are we talking about here? It's all the same word. So we switch to gender, and then you're like, damn it, gender and sex, and then you're like, they're all connected too, and you're like, damn it, I don't know what we're talking about. Are we talking about intercourse? And you're like, take intercourse off the table, and then we're like, are you talking about the gender? Are you talking about your birth gender? What you were born with? Are you talking about our organs? Are you talking about the organs? Or lack of organs? Or are you talking about the organs you changed? Or did you change it medically? Or are you talking about genetic level? About hormone level? And you can also change that medically. I was like, you can change your organs medically, and you can change your hormones medically. So I was like, that can be changed. Especially since they were like, you can't change that. Okay. Sorry, it's a little off topic. I think so. No, it's all related. It's all the same thing to me. Yeah. It's the same. But yeah. I think I'll get to it a little bit more. But yeah, it's all confusing. But you were taught. Okay, so your sex and your gender identity were taught, and you were told that they are the same thing and they mean the same thing, and you were also taught that it's femininity, that it's a girl, you're feminine. That's it. You can't be masculine, you can't do what guys like, you can't be like a guy, you can't do anything. You gotta save yourself and can only get married, you can't get divorced, and you can't have abortion, you must have a baby, and you can only have sex after marriage, and you have to get married, and you have to have babies. And you're a girl, and you have to look like a girl, and you have to talk like a girl, and you have to dress like a girl, and you can only talk to girls. And you have to act like a girl, and you can't have a job or anything. That's how it was. And you can only like boys. It was a straight line. This is it. Girl, can like boys. Do everything girls do. Have children. Get married. Yeah. So that's, in the olden days, that's how it was. And you didn't know that anything else. And it was anyone who verified that or who said anything against that was shunned, humiliated, and was ignored and had to hide it. That's how it was. You could only be whatever you were born with, and you could only like the opposite sex. So that's how it was. And everything else was the same. Yeah. I was taught all that bullshit too. And then I learned, oh, you don't have to. You don't have to. You don't have to like boys. You don't have to be a girl. You don't have to. You don't have to wear makeup. You don't have to wear dresses. You don't have to like dresses. You can like boy things. You can look like a boy. You didn't have choices and you didn't have options. That was it. It's not better in the old days. Everyone had to do things and no one was happy. Well, I was happy. Like, didn't have mental issues, didn't have mental health issues. No, you hid it and you all lied about it. You just hid and lied about everything. That's what everyone did. Because it wasn't seen as normal in society. It wasn't seen as okay to not be okay or anything like that. So, you had to act and talk and be a certain way. Be accepted by your own family and by others. And then we're like, oh, if you're a little bit different, it's okay. And you might be accepted. You probably still won't, but you have a higher chance of being accepted now. And you have a higher chance of being happy and getting help. And doing what you want and being happy overall. The only thing that really changed. For society and everything. So it's not better in the old days. And nothing really changed except for the acceptance level and what people talk about. And everything hidden came to be revealed. Probably because it the issues built up and exploded, and you're like, oh, yeah. So everyone was so shocked. They were like, oh, suicide rates are so high. Duh. What do you think you're doing to your children? Like, all these problems and issues in society that you've been hiding all the time finally get revealed. So you have to kneel. You have to deal with them now, and you have to see them, and you have to confront them, and you have to know and acknowledge that they exist now. Okay. So that's everything on this topic. I'll talk about this a little bit more in depth